Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Matter in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to continue in the new law term. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Thursday, July 13th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. Lawyers for the opposition New Democratic Party, the NDP in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, will have to wait until the new law year to have their application to inspect the 2015 election documents heard. This as the current term ends this month. When the matter came up for hearing on Wednesday, it was adjourned to a date to be fixed by the Registrar of the High Court in the new law term, which begins in September. Justice Esco Henry, who is presiding over the matter, also gave a 6-point order outlining actions that the parties must take and their timeline. Ben Exeter, who was the NDP's candidate in Central Leeward in the 2015 general elections, has filed a petition challenging the outcome of the elections there. His colleague Laurent Baptiste, the NDP's candidate in North Windward, has mounted a similar challenge in that district. Those constituencies were among the 8 won by the Unity Labour Party of Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, which secured a 4th consecutive term in office. The remaining 7 seats went to the NDP. We continue in Jamaica, where there are questions about whether the government breached its own rules by not putting a limit on cell phone calls and data usage for cabinet ministers. The questions were raised after a circular from the Finance Ministry was released outlining the rules. It also appears that a whole category of public servants could be running up millions of dollars in cell phone bills. TVJ's Andrea Chisholm has the details.
Outrage across the country that the finance minister has racked up a cell phone bill of over $8.3 million. That led to Prime Minister Andrew Holness instructing that a cap be placed on the cell phone usage for ministers and their juniors. But based on a document, it turns out that cabinet and state ministers are not the only ones without a limit. Circular 35, dated November 9, 2012, coming out of the Finance Ministry, showed that the following persons, listed as Category A, have no preset limits on calls: the Governor-General, Parliamentary Secretaries, Board Chairmen and Mayors, Permanent Secretaries, Commissioners, Chief Executive Officers, Chief Technical Directors, Heads of Departments, and public officials paid at the level of SEG 5 or higher. Plus, there was no mention of data usage for such persons. Interestingly though, Section 3 of the same circular says there must be preset limits for calls and data services outside the CUG plan on all government mobile phones. That limit should be based on the approved budget as well as an estimated average of the telephone usage of the individual. If there is need to increase such a limit, the Financial Secretary has to approve it, and if personal calls are made, the public officer must pay for them. In the meantime, the circular did set limits for other categories of government workers. Those in Category B, like divisional heads and senior managers, have $2,500 per month for calls and data. The limit for those in Category C, such as technical and field officers, is $2,000 per month for calls and data. In his release on Tuesday, the Prime Minister also directed the Finance Ministry to review and report on the policies for communication services in each ministry. That includes cellular phones.
Over in Barbados, Prime Minister Fundil Stewart has denied that he refused to meet with trade union leaders on Tuesday as they tried to present him with a letter outlining their concerns about the controversial increase in the National Social Responsibility Levy. Stewart said he was expecting one person to deliver the letter to him at Parliament, but when told that all the leaders wanted to be present, he agreed and waited for them to be shown to his office. He says he assumed that message was delivered to them. The National Union of Public Workers President Akani McDowell had reported that Stewart refused to meet with him and 3 other trade union leaders, and that the Prime Minister had advised them through a police officer that he was prepared to meet only one. McDowell says they decided to move on after meeting with opposition leader Mia Mottley and were on their way out when the officer returned and advised that the Prime Minister was prepared to meet them all. Stewart later issued a statement about the turn of events.
On Monday afternoon, when the officer from the special branch was making me aware of this matter, in readily agreeing to receive the letter, I indicated that I saw nothing wrong with making myself available to the person who was going to hand the letter over. On Tuesday, around 12:20 p.m., I got up and left the chamber while Minister of Finance Christopher Sinclair was speaking, a practice I don't ordinarily follow. I do not leave the chamber when my ministers are speaking, but I considered this occasion significant enough to justify my varying that practice.
Workers at the Trinidad and Tobago port staged a protest on Wednesday calling for a number of their concerns to be addressed. They say their issues such as working conditions, wages and salaries, and terms of employment have been repeatedly neglected by Port Authority officials as well as the Labour Ministry. We get more in this TV6 News report.
Contract and permanent workers at the Port of Spain say they are sick and tired of being forgotten. With a new wage negotiation date quickly approaching, they say they're still awaiting what was promised in the last one.
We have the 12% that was agreed upon for 2014-2017, which expires at the 31st of this month. And we are saying at least the 12% should be added on to the salary to start before we go to the next process, to the next negotiation.
Money isn't their only grouse. They say the conditions they're forced to work under are ridiculous and there's no redress.
We have a problem with the Labour office. The Labour officer, you can't speak to him. You can't communicate with him. And he makes his own decision from day to day and affects the whole operation from day to day.
They're also calling for better systems for contract workers on the port, as the current system is unfortunate.
We are seeing individuals walking in here using the word contract and as monthly paid workers, while you have daily paid workers here who do the same job, and for some reason they don't want to make them to put them on that permanent list. And we are saying that has to stop. The word contract is a convenient word, and it should not be used in that way. We have temporary workers here who are working more than 30 years.
The workers say this demonstration was just the beginning for them, and they are prepared to take more drastic measures if they're not attended to soon.
And still to come in Caribbean Newsline, a tourist killed by a jet engine blast at St. Martin's Airport. We'll be right back with the details.
The Caribbean Broadcasting Union and its regional and international partners at the CBU Annual General Assembly, August 21st through 24th at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel in Nassau, the Bahamas, under the theme Digital Developments in Caribbean Media. Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Dr. the Honorable Hubert Alexander Minnis, will welcome delegates during the opening ceremony. Guyana's Minister of Public Telecommunications, the Honorable Kathy Hughes, will offer a keynote address on digital developments in the region. See the launch of the UNESCO-sponsored Manual of Social Media Guidelines for Caribbean Journalists, with guest speaker Jamaica's Director of Public Prosecutions, Paula Llewellyn. And hear from international media players about the new developments in digital television standards in Europe, the US, and Japan. And this year's Caribbean Broadcasting Awards Gala at the Atlantis Resort Paradise Island is not to be missed. Call 246-430-1007 to book your space in the 3-day conference and exhibition. Don't miss the CBU 48th Assembly at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel in Nassau from August 21st through 24th. Discounts on flights to the Assembly on the official airline, Caribbean Airlines.
It's time to explore, to feel, to love. St. Kitts, everything you've ever dreamed of. more than you could have ever imagined. It's time to follow your heart. St. Kitts.
A tourist from New Zealand was killed in St. Martin on a Wednesday after the blast from a powerful jet engine knocked her into a wall. Police say the 57-year-old woman had been holding on to the fence before the force of the jet engines threw her backwards, causing serious head injury. She was taken to hospital for treatment, but later died. In a statement, the police said they visit the area daily to discourage tourists from clinging to the runway fence. And despite prominent signs in the area instructing beachgoers not to stand near the fence because of the dangerous jet blast, the warning is often ignored. Bahamas Finance Minister Peter Turnquest is rubbishing opposition claims that indiscriminate borrowing by the new administration is the reason for the recent threat of a credit downgrade by Moody's. The opposition claims that the government borrowed millions of dollars to pay debt in its first month in office. And though Turnquest, who's also the Deputy Prime Minister, is not disputing that claim, he says it's disingenuous of the opposition to blame the current government since the bills they're now paying off were incurred by the opposition.
If it were not for the policies of the previous government, we would not have to have borrowed at least 400 million of that. And so for them to say that they blame the current government is incredibly misleading and disingenuous. We didn't create those bills. We did not create the commitments that we now find ourselves in that causes us to incur a deficit of $322 million for this year. Those are all recurrent commitments that are rolling over from one year to the next that we are in the process of reviewing, that we hope that we'll be able to make some inroads on and to create some savings as a result of implementing our fiscal rules and fiscal discipline.
In a statement, PLP Senator Fred Mitchell charged that the F&M administration is playing the blame game and pointed to the Moody's report, which he said did not point out a specific party, but the government. Mitchell said the present administration was warned during the budget debate not to talk down the economy and recklessly borrow $722 million in their first week in office. Alleged mismanagement and corruption claims made by the F&M during the budget, according to Mitchell, figured nowhere in what Moody's had to say, and he cried shame on the present administration. Turnquest, however, said the government now has to clean up the mess created by the former administration through several fiscal measures, which he outlined.
We are going to be introducing a suite of fiscal responsibility legislation in the first instance to compel the government to work within its means. We're also going to be looking at all of our expenditure to ensure that those programs that are continuing are in fact viable, that they're sustainable, that they provide value to the Bahamian people for the dollars that are spent. We believe that there's tremendous savings to be had by doing that kind of detailed review, even looking at programs to ensure that they're still relevant today, because some of these programs that we have are just rollovers and are not providing the kind of service or tangible benefit that addresses the modern Bahamas.
Government, he said, will also take a closer look at revenue collection in an attempt to improve the country's economic status. Now, Moody officials are expected to be in the country over the next few weeks, meeting with stakeholders before a final decision is made. Another lowering of the Bahamas' rating will put the country at junk status.
The vexing issue of the honey trade between Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago is to be reviewed by the CARICOM Secretariat. This was agreed to at the just concluded meeting of heads of government in Grenada. Grenada and Trinidad have been at loggerheads over the honey trade for some time now, as Trinidad beekeepers and honey producers have been protected under a piece of local legislation. But CARICOM has promised to review the situation with the aim of finding a resolution that fits in with the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas. More in this report from Kristalina John of GBN News.
Despite Trinidad and Tobago's commitment under regional and international agreements, namely the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, establishing the Caribbean Community CARICOM, and the World Trade Organization agreement, the country's ban on the importation of honey remains. During last week's 38th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community, the matter has been taken up by the CARICOM Secretariat. Grenada's ambassador to CARICOM, Dr. Patrick Antoine, spoke of the first phase that must be undertaken by the Secretariat.
Heads in caucus held the view that the Secretary General and the Secretariat would advise Trinidad and Tobago of the treaty obligations in relation to sanitary and phytosanitary measures that would govern, would attach to the trade in honey from community members, which would of course include Grenada.
Dr. Antoine says the heads of government also agreed that if it is found necessary, a risk assessment will be conducted by the Caribbean Health and Food Safety Agency.
In the CAFSA team to undertake the risk assessment, if it is that it's found that the risk assessment is necessary, the team would include one representative from Trinidad and Tobago. Typically, CAFSA would put together a team of experts, which would be comprised of chief veterinarians or subject matter experts from across the region.
The ambassador says if a satisfactory outcome is not found, then Grenada has the right to take this matter to the CCJ.
We have faith that in the end, even if it means this matter goes to the CCJ, that the community will prevail, because the CCJ is a creature of the community. Particularly now, given that Prime Minister Mitchell is in the chair, I am sure without submersing himself in the process, because he cannot. In fact, he has not, save and except he has done what was required of a head. He has really left it to the minister and to the technical team, and he has brought his weight when it's been required.
The matter of the ban on importation of honey is grounded in protection granted to producers of honey in Trinidad through a piece of legislation which was enacted close to a century ago. Dr. Antoine says a follow-up will be made in the next 30 days with the CARICOM Secretariat.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, Darren Bravo and Cricket West Indies mend fences. The details of that story after the break.
Welcome to SwiftPack, your online shopping and shipping solution. Receive the best rates, expert cargo management, and exceptional customer service. SwiftPack provides secure handling of your smallest packages to your largest cargo with speed and reliability. We invite you to use our U.S. mailbox service, online shopping, ship air and ocean cargo from the supplier to your door. We handle it all for you. Get started now. Sign up for a free regular account or premium account, or give us a call on 440-6100. SwiftPack. You shop, we ship, you save.
Ready. It's another episode. When we out on the road. This is what we love to celebrate, to celebrate. This is not Hollywood. No, we don't come out of road. Drink, drink, drink. King Baba and the guitar. Hey, hey, hey. Every fat dollar boy keep on calling me wrong name. But that's okay, cause that's my bitch. I don't understand how wearing a name tag on me. You know what to say, you still calling me wrong name. Don't get vexed with me. Don't say that.
Continuing with cricket, exiled left-hander Darren Bravo is back in the good books of Cricket West Indies and can now play for the Caribbean side again. CWI announced Thursday that the batsman is available with immediate effect to play in all forms of the game following his apology to CWI and its president Dave Cameron. The two exchanged apologies to end the impasse, which developed last November when Bravo was sent home ahead of the Tri-Nation Series in Zimbabwe, over a tweet in which he called the cricket boss a big idiot. The offending tweet, which followed statements by Cameron on a Sportsmax program, has been removed. And Bravo admitted in a statement that, in retrospect, the tweet had been inappropriate. He said, quote, "As I have always tried to uphold the best traditions of West Indies cricket and its players, I now therefore wish to withdraw the comment made on my Twitter account and apologize to the president of CWI and to all Windies fans. I look forward to continuing to play a positive role in both the West Indies senior men's team and regional cricket, as well as helping to grow and develop cricket in the region at all levels." For his part, Cameron acknowledged that he was incorrect in saying on the program that Bravo had been previously awarded an A contract. He said in his statement, quote, "I apologize for the misstatement and wish to assure Mr. Bravo that there was no insult or offense intended towards him. Darren is a senior cricketer who has been a valuable part of the West Indies setup for a long time, and I would hope to see his game continue to progress and mature at both regional and international levels." Meantime, Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says CARICOM could proceed with a legal challenge to Cricket West Indies' right to manage the sport in the Caribbean. Speaking on local radio, Rowley said CARICOM had already sought legal advice and had been assured this was a case to be argued on the basis of CWI as a private entity continuing to manage cricket, which constituted a public good. He said at the heart of the issue is the question of who really owns West Indies cricket and from whence the authority for that ownership comes. Rowley said he would soon be speaking to St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, the chairman of CARICOM's Subcommittee on Cricket, to get him to engage the matter. CARICOM has sought to intervene in the sport ever since the controversial abandoned tour of India in 2014, which resulted in the body controlling cricket in the Caribbean, which was West Indies Cricket Board at the time, being slapped with a $42 million claim in damages by the Indian Cricket Board. The WICB subsequently commissioned a study by a governance review panel of eminent persons headed by UWI Phil Principal Professor Udine Barato, which found its structure to be antiquated and obsolete and recommended the immediate dissolution of the West Indies Cricket Board and the appointment of an interim board. The board has resisted the move, arguing that it is a private body. The impasse between CWI and CARICOM has dragged on since, resulting in the resignation last year of Grenada's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell as chairman of the Subcommittee on Cricket and Gonsalves assuming the post. Staying with cricket, Guyana Amazon Warriors have chosen former West Indies Under-19 World Cup player Kimo Paul to replace Shimron Hetmeyer ahead of this year's Hero Caribbean Premier League. Hetmeyer, who was initially selected by the Guyana Amazon Warriors as a West Indies youth player, will be on West Indies senior team duties. And Paul, who was Hetmeyer's deputy when the West Indies Under-19 team won the Youth World Cup in 2016, made his debut in January 2015 playing for the West Indies Under-19s in Tobago. In March this year, the 19-year-old right-handed all-rounder's first-class debut was overshadowed by injury at the Queen's Park Oval, but he came back with the tournament-winning 6-wicket haul at Providence for the Guyana Jaguars. Guyana Amazon Warriors operations manager Omar Khan said Paul is a very talented and promising player with lots of potential, and his all-round ability brings more value to the team. He said this is another way of giving young Guyanese players opportunities to be part of the biggest party in sport, the Hero CPL, and showcase their skills and talents to the world. The 5th edition of Hero Caribbean Premier League opens on August 4th in St. Lucia, and the final is set for September 9th in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, the Trinidad and Tobago Under-19 netballers on Wednesday won their second game at the World Youth Cup in Botswana. The TT ladies looked dead and buried after back-to-back losses to Fiji 55-28 and England 75-27 at the start of the tournament. But they followed up Tuesday's 36-32 win over Wales with an even more dominant performance, turning back Grenada 76-35 to even their group play at 2-2. The Trinidad ladies took a while to adjust to the pace of the competition, but appear better settled and playing better than their 2 opening encounters. The Bahamas is in the final stretch of preparations for hosting the 2017 Commonwealth Youth Games in less than a week. Deputy Senior Technical Director Trevor Moss and his team have had some practice runs, and he says they're ensuring they have all the necessary manpower and other requirements in place for the biggest sporting event to be held in the Bahamas.
Is we have all the venues being used at the same time. And so it calls for additional manpower and services. Also for this includes cycling, which is out on the road. So, and we have to provide technology service there also. So we go from all the way out from the heritage site straight down to the beach stadium. We sourced enough equipment over the time with the government, and so we have enough equipment has already been sourced by the government through various events and conferences, and so we have the majority of equipment already in stock.
Everyone is on board for a smooth operation, Wi-Fi, and all the other technology that is needed.
It's a new system in place. And so we have Bahamians who are being taught to operate this system. And so we have 2 persons at every venue to make sure that the start lists and the punchlines and the results and everything get out as quickly as the referees and the officials can release them.
Good thing is that majority of the events will be held at the Queen Elizabeth Sports Center. KM CEO Romel Fish Knowles.
We're 90% ready. I mean, we're putting in the technical and the audio stuff as we speak. As you walk around the stadium, you'll begin to see the pageantry go up. In another day or two, you'll see the flags and the likes. So we're readying the facility, no doubt. Trevor and his team from IT is putting the last touches. Venue, Lawrence and Helson, they're putting in their last touches, meeting with the federations to ensure that everything they require to host a successful event is in place. And so we're almost home. We're almost ready for game day.
More than 1,300 people from about 70 Commonwealth countries will compete in the July 19th to 23rd Games. Participating athletes will be between the ages of 14 and 18, competing in 9 disciplines, including athletics, swimming, rugby, cycling, judo, boxing, tennis, beach volleyball, and beach soccer. And that's sports. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Grow your business or promote your event through the services offered by the Caribbean Media Corporation and CaribVision. Our distribution provides a platform on cable, terrestrial television, and websites. We cover carnivals and events from across the region. We can bring your event live and alive to the world. For music makers, program producers, businesses, we can expand your reach to in excess of 2 million households daily. Our other services include news updates to enhance your media products, studio space for program and development. We can facilitate the launch of new products and services and training. Contact us and we will help you unleash your creative ability, develop products and services, and provide the medium to watch them grow. Contact Loretta Skeet at cmccaribbean.com or call her 1-246-467-1044 or 1-246-253-3889. Call and book your carnival or event today.
A recap of the major developments of this day: the election petition matter in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to continue into the new law term, And in sport, exiled left-hander Darren Bravo is back in the good books of Cricket West Indies and can now play for the Caribbean side again after apologizing to President Dave Cameron. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, log on to ConnellNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and good night.